Cleveland Indians, Tennessee Titans, Tampa Bay Rays, New York Jets, Pittsburgh Steelers, Chicago Bears. What do these all have in common?
These were just some of the teams that, according to Sports Illustrated, that had to change their names without relocating. Some even had to change their names multiple times. Is this right? I mean, it is just a name, is it not? As most of you are familiar with, society is currently faced with the dispute about the Washington Redskins. Some Native American tribes find the name Redskins offensive, but on the other hand, according to Detroit News, the Chippewa tribe does not understand why it is such a big deal. The Chippewa actually have a strong relationship with Central Michigan University, and they have an agreement with them on when the nickname can actually be used and when it is appropriate. They find that having this connection provides an opportunity to share their culture. So, what is with the story behind the Redskins? And why is it upsetting so many Native Americans? When someone asks you what the term Redskins means, what is your first response?
Football team.
Okay, when I think of the term Redskins, I don't think of it as a very offensive thing. I know it's a slang term for Native Americans, but I don't think it's very offensive, or I didn't know it was an offensive term.
Okay.
The term redskin, potatoes.
Until today, no one's ever asked me what a redskin was. I've never even heard the term out in general daily use.
My first response when I hear the term Redskins, I think of Washington Redskins football team.
When someone asks me what the term Redskins mean, I kind of know it well because I'm Native and live on a Native reservation back home. It's kind of a derogatory term that when the people were being beaten or chased or like whipped, they would start to bleed, so people would call them Redskins, or it would be like not a derogatory term towards blood, but because people were like darker and they weren't brown, so they couldn't make fun of them like black people were.
Do you think the Washington Redskins should change their name, and why?
Just the name. It'd be the same as changing the name Braves or Chiefs or any of these things. And like I say, I don't see anything wrong with those names.
Okay, I don't think the Redskins should change their name because they've had it for so long, and I don't know why people are being offended by it now when they weren't 10 years ago or 5 years ago or whatever, and they have the freedom to choose a name.
I do not believe they should change the name. It's been there since NFL started. I don't see a reason why.
I agree. I don't see any reason to change it. I actually find it hard to believe that people can be offended by terms that they use themselves on their own sports teams, like the Winnebago Indians, for example, in Nebraska.
No, I don't think the Redskins should change their name. They are a sports team, and as I said earlier, I think that it is a matter of honoring the Native Americans.
I think the Washington Redskins should change their name because it's pretty offensive. I could see like their logo isn't bad, like the Cleveland Indians Chief Wahoo, which is pretty stereotypical. But the name like Redskins, the owner defends it like he's Jewish, so he knows what discrimination is. But he should know that it hurts a lot more since he's Jewish and knows that, and should change it. And the consensus is 60% of people say they should keep it, but it's not like a majority voting for an election. Like 60% wins. It's even if one person is offended, then it should be changed.
Detroit News says that the term redskin comes from such a horrendous act of genocide in the settling of the Americas. Originally, a scalping of a Native American was referred to as a redskin, and then was used as a trophy to get a reward. After learning what the term Redskins means, do you think they should change their name now?
No, because I never knew that before, and I would say probably most of the population of the United States is not aware of that either.
Now that I know where the term Redskins comes from, I do think they should change their name just because it has such a bad history and it just comes from a really bad place. But other names like Chiefs or Indians shouldn't be changed because those terms aren't really offensive.
I wasn't aware that that was the actual term for redskin. I also realized that it was hundreds of years ago that that was taking place, and over time, when it didn't happen to you, your family, or anyone you know in the recent future, I don't think it's as offensive.
I agree. I don't think it, even with knowing why they think it's offensive, time has gone by and it just should not be an issue.
We're now all Native Americans.
Correct.
It's where we were born. This is where we're from. I'm a Native American because I was born here.
Oh, no, I don't think they should, still don't think they should change their name. You know, there was terrible things that happened on both sides, and unfortunately, and that's the way it went in the frontier days.
Well, I already knew what the term Redskins mean, so I stay behind my statement, and I think they should change the team name.
This controversy is just another example of how society lacks understanding about many cultures. Though cultures do divide our society, the media is not helping the situation either. Many stereotypes form our knowledge about other cultures that come from the media. What is your impression of a Native American?
Indian.
When I think of a Native American, some of the first things that come to my mind is tradition, fighters, warriors, I guess, and just very, I guess I already said traditional. I don't.
Okay, what I think of it when somebody says Native American, I think of history, Thanksgiving, reservations.
I think of Indians or Eskimos, depending on where they use the term Native American.
Okay. My impression of a Native American, they are the first Americans, and they were a proud people, and as they should have been and should still be.
Oh, my impression of a Native American, since I am Native American, I kind of know the stereotypes. Like, I hear a lot of ignorant things. Like, people still ask if we live in teepees or have, like, running water, so I know what the stereotypes are out there. And I think it's pretty dumb that one of my friends got asked, or he was asked if he was Asian first, and he's Native too. And then the lady who said that said she wondered if there are still Native Americans left. So I think it's kind of odd that people still think that.
What is your impression of a cowboy?
All American from the West.
When I think of cowboys, I think of hardworking men, mostly men, and usually lonely, and then also country music.
A cowboy, Wyoming, ranches,
Bull riding,
bull riding,
rodeos,
tough.
boots.
Impression of a cowboy is, I don't know how far back you want to go. Are you talking about current cowboys or the original cowboys that helped settle the West and brought cattle, livestock, and settled a land that the Native Americans owned? And so they were my impression is they were a tough breed of men, but they had to be to survive in those days. So
My impression of a cowboy would be like the Lone Ranger, maybe, or John Wayne is like the stereotypical cowboy that one everyone thinks of from back in the old Western movies.
Most people grew up playing cowboys and Indians, and the Indians were considered the evil or bad guys, and in old westerns, the bad guys were the Indians. But if we actually look back in time, white settlers treated the Indians wrongly. So shouldn't the cowboys be the bad guys? They did take over their land and force them into camps. America is supposed to be where people come to escape persecution. Though America does accomplish this dream well, some believe that we should start taking others' perspectives into consideration. But once we start taking other cultures into consideration, we're faced with another problem. Where do we start? What about the Braves? What about the Giants? What about the Chiefs? Or even the Blue Devils? Where do we start? America is supposed to be free, but where does it start?